Hello and welcome to my entry for the tomwilson88 competition. Before I begin, don't forget you can always check out his channel and subscribe to him. He does lots of Warhammer painting and conversion videos. Right, let's look at my models. Here we have some Necrons. First of all, we'll take a look at one of my very first Necron warriors. As you can see, the eyes are a bit blurry. Back then I was doing a lot of wet painting, so the paint would tend to get into the cracks and get a bit sloppy. That's why you can see on the back here it goes into all of the indentations pretty much. Which is why I moved on to dry brushing. And also the gun's got a bit of glue on it, which has messed up the shape, but back then you didn't really care, provided you had models on the table. Here's another look at a bit of a sloppy model. This is my very first Lord. I tried to do lighting effects in his chest and it just turned out horribly. The cloak was okay, I suppose. I probably shouldn't have glossed it up, but you live and learn. Here's a look at one of my later Necron models. This warrior was actually used for the painting tutorial that I've got, which you can check out all of my painting tutorials on my channel, and I'll be putting links up in this video. And here's another one. So you can see as I progressed I've started using darker blends, and I've been dry brushing a lot more and getting the eyes correct and just improving on my painting techniques really. Here's a look at one of my very first Immortals. As you can see, all the greens went very nicely, I think, and the dry brushing on the gun really picks out the detail, and the eyes were all fine on this one. I also used a bit of blending in the back to show it fade from one colour to the next. Here's the Tesla one, a bit darker because I wanted it to look like it had burnt up its enemies with the Tesla fire, and the ashes have been blown back at all of them and they'd all got darker. A bit less progressive fading in the back there. I tried to make it a bit more stark in contrast. And here we have one of my first death marks. Very simple paint scheme actually for this, and it turned out very nicely I think. There's a bit of lighting effects from the glow of the gun on the hand and on the face, although I tried to make them quite subtle, because they are supposedly assassins. You don't want to be shown off in the battlefield by all of your green orbs and lights. But that still turned out very nicely, I think. Here's a look at the Finecast Cryptek, which I painted out quite nicely, I think, although it was a bit sloppy. I might go back and redo some of the bits. Excuse me. The gold turned out very nicely, I think, and also the blue fading on the back. This is the first time I've ever used blue dry brushing, I think, on a model, but it still turned out quite nicely. Here's a look at one of my Lich Guard. These turned out very nicely actually, because I managed to get the heads just right, I think. The sword's not quite as nice as it could have been, but the main model and the shield still turned out very, very nicely, I think. They definitely look good on the tabletop if you ever use them, although a lot of people don't use Lich Guard because they're very expensive in points. Here's a look at my own Cryptek, which I have actually created myself from old bits of death marks and things, and obviously that's a Praetorian's Rod of the Covenant instead of a Staff of Light. But I used a lot of lighting effects on this in a very different colour scheme because I wanted it to really stand out. And you can see there are lighting effects from the staff on the tail and things, and also from the orbs on the front along the arms and legs. But that turned out very nicely. I think I might carry on with that colour scheme for a few things if I can get the white sorted out. Here's a look at the Overlord, probably one of my best models. I tried to go for a very sleek design, colour scheme. So you can see the staff is very simple, and most of the model uses quite clean painting, so no vast amount of dry brushing except on the cloak. because I wanted that to look more faded, and also on the front tablet. And now let's look at some of my towel models that I painted in the past. Only 4 of these because I went through 4 basic progressions. So the first, this is showing how I used to paint towel with a normal colour scheme but done quite badly. So you can see the hands got sloppy painting and it's run a bit over on there. This is back when I couldn't really keep into the lines. Probably one of the first models I ever actually painted, because I got into towel before I started doing Necrons. Then here's when I got back into them and started taking up painting a bit better. So this turned out very nicely, I think, although I did do a bit too much highlighting. The eyes turned out very nicely. I used a gemming effect in those, and put on my own little tubing thing. That aerial at the back is actually made from a cut-up gun, and those bullet belts, I believe, are from Kroot models. So that turned out quite nicely. The insignia could have been a bit better. Here's the model that I used for my tutorial video. This is after I started getting into washes, so this turned out very nicely, I think. I was able to keep all the panel lines fine and get the eyes nice. So that worked out really well. And here's a look at my own paint colour scheme, which I call Spec Ops, so you can see a tutorial for that as well. Very simple colour scheme. It only takes about 10 minutes to paint a model, really. Depending on how fast you paint, obviously. But that model took about 9 or 10 minutes. And here's a very quick comparison between my 2 broadsides, showing how I've managed to sort out all of my panel lines and get it much cleaner. But thanks for watching this video, and I hope I win. And I'll see you guys in my next video.